Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of my podcast, where I interview women and femme-identifying individuals in our industry in e-commerce and tech, and just kind of dive into their career journeys, their roles, and how they got to where they are today. And I'm joined by two amazing women in our community. I have Ashley Ching, who's the founder and CEO of a company called Inhaven. And I also have Mackenzie Mayer, who is an amazing product manager at a SaaS company called BigCommerce. And I'll let them talk a little bit more about themselves and what they do at their organizations. Maybe we can start with Ashley.
Yeah, thanks so much, Cass. So my name is Ashley Ching, and I founded the company Inhaven. If you've ever stayed at a place booked on Airbnb or Vrbo and thought you booked a place where the pictures look great, the location's perfect, but you show up to really crappy sheets and missing pots and pans, that sucks. And we are here to solve that. We're here to solve the reliability and consistency problem that vacation rentals face today. And the reason that they face this problem of just really unprofessional, mismatched stays is because they don't have a great supply chain or procurement solution. So at Inhaven, we're helping our hosts and property managers who manage these vacation rentals set standards for the comfort of the stay, the bed, bath, and kitchen. We make it really easy to replenish the inventory, and we're giving them a way to also promote that they have these quality standards in their home.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for being on the podcast today. I know that I really wanted to have you on. Ashley has created a business that is kind of the first of its kind. And I'm so excited to dive a little bit more into how Inhaven is really changing and disrupting the property management industry. So on that note, pause there. I will go to Mackenzie. Mackenzie, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at BigCommerce and what BigCommerce does for our audience?
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Mayer. I'm a product manager for both B2B and Pricing. BigCommerce sells e-commerce software to merchants and brands and allows them to sell online. It really quickly allows brands to scale up, sell their product, and not have to worry about, managing software, managing security, all of that fun stuff.
Great. And I know that you have a really interesting story of being a business owner yourself, which gives you a really great perspective, I think, at a tech company that services other entrepreneurs. I feel like that's like my favorite type of people to work with in the tech industry, people who know what it's like to be a business owner and to your end customer. So I'm really excited to get into your journey as well. First, I wanted to talk to Ashley, give us a little bit of an insight into your early years in your career, maybe where you went to college, what you studied, and then the first roles you had.
Sure. So I went to school at a small liberal arts school in Ohio called Denison University and majored in economics there. And when I left, I joined Deloitte Consulting to be a part of their business analyst consulting program. And while at Deloitte, it was sort of like mini internships all over the country with these awesome companies from Wrigley Gum to Kraft and Hanes brands. And what I loved about Deloitte was I loved working for consumer retail businesses. I loved getting close to the consumer, understanding their purchasing habits, and developing solutions with those teams that just made their products better. So coming out of Deloitte, or as I was thinking about my next step, I knew I didn't want to stay in consulting forever. I wanted to actually go to a company where the initiatives that we would implement, I'd be there to actually see the fruition of those long hours and projects. So I ended up joining Tiffany & Company in New York as a category analyst, I guess, and really worked on their consumer lines like the silver business, gold, engagement. And there I was responsible for just, what the product roadmap looked like from a product perspective, new product launches to pricing to the assortments in stores. So that's sort of how I got into retail per se.
What is so interesting about you, Ashley, is you do have this consulting background and you do have this background working at Tiffany's, which is not, vacation rentals, property rental at all. But I feel like it probably gave you a lot of great experience with handling different scenarios in a business environment that translated really well when you became an entrepreneur yourself and started Inhaven. I want to get into how you went from jewelry and Tiffany's to Inhaven, but maybe before we get into that, I want to ask Mackenzie maybe where you went to school and what you studied and what your early years look like.
Yeah, so I kind of took the long way around when it comes to college. I started taking a few classes while I was working, and I actually didn't finish college until I was in my 30s. So I actually started a business with my mother. My mother had just broken off to go out on her own. She's an ultrasound tech. And so she had just broken off on her own, started her own business with ultrasounds. I was helping on the side while doing a few classes. Yeah, we ended up starting a business together. We started a children's clothing company called Pika Boutique. And so we would do ultrasounds in the back. We would tell people what they were having, let them see their babies, and then offered them clothes and cute stuff to buy in the front. It's kind of like the ultimate branding experience. It's hard to forget that place where you got to see your babies. So yeah.
Very cool.
I finished school at WGU, which is an online college. It's really a unique college. It's kind of made for business professionals so that you don't have to go back and be in that fully structured school environment. And it's actually really unique. So you take a class, and instead of doing all the curriculum, you basically pass the class by doing either a test, like an exam, you take a certification, or you do a project. And so it really accelerated my college. I was able to graduate with my bachelor's in a year and a half. And it was significantly cheaper as well, which was a huge bonus, especially this day and age. And I actually graduated with 12 industry certifications in cloud computing and IT. So I finished with an IT degree in cloud computing at 30.
Amazing. What in that journey, working with your mom or when you were in school, was there anything that you feel was important to your path to where you are now in terms of discovering what you're good at, what really interests you? Maybe there was an aspect of working with your mom that you really enjoyed, influenced you to pursue that path a little bit further. I'm just curious, in those early years, like what really do you feel like mattered to your journey?
So I think for me, some of the happiest times for me was when I was locked in my office working on my e-commerce store. So when I decided to leave the business, e-commerce felt right. I wanted to be in a more technical role. I wanted to work more in e-commerce. I think I ended up landing in the right place because of that. I really enjoyed that time with my website.
Cool. And so do you have like a development background, design? What excites you about working on websites?
I think all of the above. I know just enough to be a little proficient in some things. Eventually we grew to a point where I hired, professionals to actually help with a lot of this, especially like the marketing side and the design side.
Cool. Okay.
But in the early days, I was doing it all myself. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Ashley, so in those early days at Deloitte or at Tiffany's, what were the big learnings about yourself during that time? Or would you say that there were any like seeds planted that eventually led to Inhaven?
Yeah, two things. One is I am not the type of person that likes to work from 9 to 6 on the same task every day. So what I loved about consulting and I loved about category management at Tiffany and eventually going off and running some of their regions was that every day was different. So one day you're working on a major pricing project, the next day you're doing a marketing consumer assignment. So it was really interesting. And I think what I learned at Tiffany was the power of branding and the power of creating a consistent customer experience. So I ended up going out to Asia for them and running Asia merchandising, living in Hong Kong. And I was responsible for not only the assortments and inventory in the store, but the product messages, the placement in the store as well, and on our e-commerce site. So if a customer, went to the store in Singapore versus Sydney, Australia versus Beijing, China, they would have a very similar product experience. All of the marketing messages would be up front in the store. They would be, hit with that from a sales professional perspective as well, and then online. So that importance of consistency really came to life at Tiffany that I've, now implemented at Inhaven, where, with the vacation rentals, people stay in vacation rentals because they want a very unique experience. They want to feel like a local, but they do not want unique sleeping experiences. They don't want a round bed. They want a comfortable sleep experience, comfortable eating experience. And so I'm bringing those lessons that I learned at Tiffany about the importance of consistency to that portion of the vacation rental industry.
And it's so interesting for me to hear you say this because my connection to Ashley is that she's actually a client at the agency that I work at, Cronix, where we do web development and digital marketing. And she's been a long-time awesome client and partner of ours. We built the Inhaven website. And I just recall many of these emphasis points, things that really matter to you and you want to keep top of mind for your team in these meetings that we have with you too, at Cronix. So it's really cool to see where that came from. And I think I can relate to you a lot, actually. your consulting background, most of my career was working at agencies. I think an agency environment perhaps has some similarities to an organization like Deloitte in that you have many different types of clients and you're able to see lots of different types of problems and work across different industries and have a lot of exposure to lots of business scenarios that become really helpful to you later on down the road, but also it allows you to have that newness like in your 9 to 5. You're not doing the same stuff every day. I can definitely relate to that because I like to experience new things too and have my day-to-day be totally different. And Mackenzie, I'm sure it's similar for you as working with your mom in your business or working on your website. Every day you have to be reactive to certain things. You're going to have different priorities that are shifting. So I'm sure you could maybe relate to liking that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even in my day-to-day now, every day is completely different. Some days I'm working on B2B, some days I'm working on pricing and everything in between, right? So I love doing different things every day and I like a good challenge.
Yeah, great. Well, Ashley, so I paused you when you were at Tiffany's. So I want to understand how you went from jewelry to vacation industry. Like that's a big jump. And there's a lot there.
I had a little stop in between.
Okay.
So I came back from Hong Kong and continued to work with Tiffany in various roles out of their corporate office. And one day I got a call from an ex-colleague who was the CEO of the Company Store, which is a Home Depot private label brand. She called and said, I'm looking for a head merchant. And I was thinking to myself, why would I go to the Home Depot, right? My career or my expertise is in luxury, the Chinese consumer, the Home Depot just doesn't make sense. But I never had planned to be at Tiffany for 13 years that I was there. Luckily, I'd had many different lives through being able to move around the world with them. I called her back and thought, yeah, actually, this is quite interesting. I'd love to learn a new industry. I'd love to see how Home Depot, the merchants there do things and learn from them. So I ended up moving to Home Depot and running merchandising for the Company Store, which was a terrific experience. At the same time, we were really growing our family. So we had 4 little kids. And when we vacationed, we no longer stayed in hotels. We needed vacation rentals, right? We need multiple bedrooms. My husband always would like his own bathroom and a kitchen. So we would stay in these places and we would find places on Airbnb or Vrbo. And again, just like I said in the beginning, the pictures look great, but we would show up to terrible sheets, missing pots and pans. And that was super frustrating, the things that you can't touch and feel in pictures. And so a light bulb sort of went off in my head and I said, there's an opportunity here. Most of our manufacturers, or I knew from my supply experience at the Home Depot, have 2 lines. One line of bedding or home supplies that go to the retail stores like Macy's and Amazon, and then another line made for hotels and restaurants that's so much more durable and the quality is just better. And so I thought, how can I get that supply to the vacation rental industry and make it really easy to shop and replenish these homes? Because I had talked to dozens and dozens of these people and they said, purchasing is a nightmare, replenishment is a nightmare. That's sort of how I entered into this space, knowing there was a huge opportunity here.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. And there's no one out there that's really doing what Inhaven does. Can you maybe describe for the audience like what makes an Inhaven website different? And maybe describe the customer experience.
So first of all, just step back. The vacation rental industry, which seems to many people like a cottage industry, is now 24% of total lodging spend. So it's a huge industry that, just needed professionalization. And so the Inhaven website, this ecosystem that we're developing, helps create a more professional supply chain for our hosts and property managers. So they like the experience of going on to Inhaven and shopping our checklists. They do not want to shop on Amazon, search for sheets and get 50,000 results and try to figure out what's going to work in a hospitality setting. So we are merchants. We know what goes into the construction of great sheets and kitchenware, and we have curated that list of products into these checklists that are organized by price point. We set up custom pages for our customers. So I'll take a customer as an example, Abode Luxury Rentals out in Park City, Utah, run by Rachel and Rob, and they're amazing. And so they have their own page dedicated to them on our site with, these are the products that we buy. These are our standards for our home. They share these pages not only with their internal teams, also their customers. So they say, okay, if I need to buy glassware, this is the glassware that I should buy, versus having to, reinvent the wheel and search for specific glassware for their home. So we do that. And then we also have launched inventory management tools that just make it really easy for the housekeeping teams when they're in the home to identify products that need to be replenished or out of stock. And we also have tools like invoicing tools so that these property managers can easily invoice their owners once they purchase products to replenish their homes. So
great. So cool.
Yeah.
And Mackenzie, So can you say your role again and then what your role entails? Like, what do you do?
That's always a fun question for a product manager. So I am a product manager. I handle 2 domains. I handle B2B and I handle pricing, which is like price list and price calculations. And my day varies so much. So essentially I take inputs from customers, stakeholders, different parts of the business, sales, and I condense that all down and I help the business understand what we should be building as far as features and development. And then I take those ideas, I win support through the business and through my team to actually develop those ideas. Then we take that idea from start to finish. So we take it to the developer, to the designer, work with the designer through how that customer flow should work. Then we introduce the developers to those designs. The developers then take those designs and we work and write requirements. The developers build all of that stuff out. So while that's going on, I help remove any blockers and make sure that the team is protected so that they can do their job and build what we need to build. And then at the tail end of that, we will take those features and we will work with the marketing team on go-to-market strategy. And then, update customers and I get anytime merchants have issues, a lot of times they're coming to me as well. Have my hands a little bit in support, just always trying to keep my finger on the pulse on what's going on, trying to make our product the best possible product it can be. The best experiences it can be so that we can serve our customers so that they can be successful.
And I think part of why you do such a good job is because of your background and that unique insight you have, working with your mom, working on your own website. I think that's so critical. And I'm sure helps a lot when you're working with other merchants. And there is a connection between all of us here. So I already mentioned how Ashley is an awesome client of my agency, Cronix, and I'm an agency partner of BigCommerce, or Cronix is. And Mackenzie, maybe you can help illustrate what you do in talking about how your company works with Inhaven.
Yeah, so BigCommerce powers Inhaven. BigCommerce works with Inhaven, and we're sort of the e-commerce engine behind Inhaven. Yeah.
And your team specifically would love to kind of hear what's unique about your specific team, and then how you work on the merchant to merchant direct level.
Yeah. So I think our B2B team has a lot of secret sauce, I would like to say. We have a very solid, strong team. We were acqui-hired essentially. So we had 2 teams at BigCommerce. One that was B2B Ninja, which is a quoting application. Another that at that point was called Bundle B2B, which is a B2B toolkit. And Brent, who is the CEO, kind of saw the potential there. And he's like, you guys are the best at B2B that know BigCommerce. And so he purchased both of the companies. And he basically took us all as competitors and he said, hey, you guys go work together and build some really awesome B2B stuff. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And it's been a really incredible journey watching the team grow and being able to really take the product to the next level.
Ashley, what has it been like working with BigCommerce?
Incredible. They are, just an incredible partner to Inhaven. They treat us so well. They're so responsive, and they are just developing such amazing products for our B2B business and B2B customers. We always enjoy working with them, understanding the roadmap so that we can plan around their roadmap of all these incredible launches that they've got coming up. And it's just been a joy to work with BigCommerce. It's absolutely one of the best decisions I've made to work with BigCommerce and Cronix. So this is quite a nice roundtable that we have here.
Yeah. And thank you both so much for coming on. I kind of started this podcast with the idea that there are so many amazing women and femme-identifying individuals in our industry that are really making a really big impact, either as business owners or on the service or software side, that are powering these businesses. And I feel like a lot of times we're not hearing the stories, and we're also not hearing the interesting paths that people take to get to where they are, which I think is really, really interesting. And that's what I'm hoping to bring to the light with this show. And I really appreciate you guys being willing to come on and talk about your journeys. I'm really excited to also talk to some of your champions that are not women, but are also an important part of your stories. So thank you so much, you guys. I'll be talking to them next.
Thanks, Cass.